Of course Meghan Markle is blackmailing the British royal family. Of course she is. I have zero doubt about that. And to be honest, has she even really tried to hide it? So that is 8 years of reporting the truth about Meghan Markle before anyone else did. They tried to ruin my life and ruin my career directly as a result. Harry and Meghan did. But I will not let them bully me because they can't. I've tried everything and I'm still here. I'm still telling the truth. I'm doing it independently. And actually that means I'm even more honest these days. So does she have information that she thinks she can use to blackmail the royal family? Yes. Does she think she has information to blackmail Harry into staying with her? Because I want to answer your question. The outspoken audience are on fire, and they are asking me today the questions about the British royal family that they never thought they would get real answers to. But of course, I will always provide those real answers, no matter how controversial the question. And let's get into it, because goodness gracious me, Colette Marchington, 8724 on YouTube, she has gone there to kick this off, writing, I feel Meghan, referring to Ms. Markle, has information on the royals that she is using to blackmail Harry into staying with her. The info, I feel, is known to the king, and that is why Charles is scared to do anything about the traitor son and Lady Macbeth. Colette, you're right. Of course Meghan Markle is blackmailing the British royal family. Of course she is. I have zero doubt about that. And to be honest, has she even really tried to hide it? I mean, Prince Philip is dying, the Queen is sick, and she gives the Oprah interview. But the bigger thread, I think, was in the cut. Do you remember that? When she made it abundantly clear that she had kept her diaries and that she was not contained by any type of NDA and that she could drop all of these secrets at any point she wanted. So she's openly blackmailing the British royal family. In terms of what information, though, she has now, I think the great thing is, and this is why I've done so much work over this over so many years, and I know lots of you will say, well, Dan, why do you still give her the oxygen? Why do you talk about her? And I'll tell you why. Because if not, we could be facing the end of the British royal family. Because when she was believed and she was making these claims of institutional racism, of personal racism, of racism against the king, as in Charles, of racism against the future queen, as in Catherine, of bullying against William, trust me, that was like sending a nuclear bomb into the British royal family, who cannot answer back because of the conventions, which means there is a sense of dignity, which means they don't come into a TV studio and spill on what Meghan Markle has really done. So that's why I just slowly, over a period of time, and I hope you appreciate my reporting on this has been honest before anyone else. And I mean that, and I can prove that. I've got the receipts. My first report about Meghan bullying staff at Kensington Palace came in 2018, okay? My first report about Meghan falling out with Catherine, the Princess of Wales, because of the way that she was treating royal staff came in 2018. My report about the late Queen Elizabeth II calling Prince Harry up on the phone and saying, get your wife under control, because she is acting in a way that we don't within the royal family, came in 2018. So that is 8 years of reporting the truth about Meghan Markle before anyone else did. They tried to ruin my life and ruin my career directly as a result. Harry and Meghan did. But I will not let them bully me because they can't. I've tried everything and I'm still here. I'm still telling the truth. I'm doing it independently. And actually that means I'm even more honest these days. So does she have information that she thinks she can use to blackmail the royal family? Yes. Does she think she has information to blackmail Harry into staying with her? Because I want to answer your question directly. Of course. Again, I was the first person to report that Meghan Markle was shopping a post-divorce book while still with her husband. Not only is that one of the most twisted things I've ever heard in my life, and trust me, it takes a lot for me to be shocked about Meghan Markle, you know what that was about. And I'm not telling you how to suck eggs, but I'm just being honest about the interpretation of it that I think is very often missing. What was that about? It was about a threat to Prince Harry. You be very careful. You think about leaving me. You think about challenging me. I've got that book in me. I'm already planning it. And why do you think she hasn't done the deal on her book yet? Because ideally, and this is an ideal world, because trust me, she needs the money, so this plan may have to change. And you know with Meghan, it's a scattergun approach. She throws things against the wall and plans very quickly change. But as it stands, the reason why she doesn't want to release the autobiography yet, I sound like Jamie Kern-Lehman now, don't I? Yet. The reason she doesn't want to release that book yet is because she really ideally wants that book to not just be a takedown about the British royal family, but be a takedown about Prince Harry too, or at least something that she can threaten him with in any future divorce settlement. So yeah, of course, you're right. Is Charles scared? I would say less so than he was. But does he want to provoke some type of fight in his final years? No, he doesn't. Is that a mistake? Yes, but I'm just being honest about where we're at. Okay, to Substack now. And Barbara, who is one of my adored Substack subscribers, as in I adore you. Thank you, Barbara. Barbara asks, hi, Dan, please can you tell us whether you think King Charles will ever strip his royal dinners, or who could you mean, and the malevolent Markle, oh, now I get it, of their titles and our HRH status, or is he leaving it to Prince William? Very simple question to this, Barbara. He's leaving it to William. He's not going to do it. And we've tried. We've put collective pressure on, both in terms of the royal community, in terms of people close to William and Catherine, in terms of courtiers, but he's not going to do it. And unfortunately, he's very out of touch of how popular this move would be and also how I think necessary this move is. But even in the sort of dark days after the Australian royal tour, where Prince Harry and Meghan Markle were making a complete mockery of the British royal family, the briefing from Buckingham Palace direct to the favoured journalist at the Daily Mail, the head of the Royal Road, Rebecca English, could have been said 5 years ago. Oh, you know, we don't want to upset the apple cart. We worry that if we take any type of punishment against these two, then it's going to make things worse. Then they're going to feel more like victims. Oh my goodness, I just want to get in there and shake them and say, do you not realise that's what they're doing anyway? Do you not understand that it is only strength that is going to resolve this situation? And the situation will be resolved by Prince William. Well, and he is leaving it for Prince William. He is. He absolutely is. Mason Bennett 4354 asks, if you bumped into Meghan and Harry, what would you say to them? Love the show, Dan. Well, thank you. I love your support, Mason. Okay, well, I'm going to be honest with you. It depends on the context, because obviously if it was a sit-down interview, there are lots of things that I would want to ask, and I would get my notes up. But if I just bumped into them on a day-to-day basis, I would obviously talk to them about what they did to me, because it was disgusting. It was completely disgusting. They worked and they conspired with the most dodgy outlet to try and destroy me. And they threatened legal action and they never took it. So I would want to know why. I would want to tell them that they were working with criminals, that they were working with phone hackers, that they were working with the most despicable people in British society, and that they were fed a whole bunch of lies. And I would want to ask them, why were you so determined to shut down a reporter then within the mainstream media? Because remember, I'd been at The Sun as executive editor, then a columnist for the Daily Mail, then a presenter at GB News. And I would say, what was it about my reporting that scared you so much? What was it about the truth that scared you so much and led you down this dark path where you decided that the only thing you could do was try to destroy me personally, rather than actually deal with the facts? I would then ask about the Markle family, actually, because that to me is the biggest disgrace outside of what they've done to the British royal family. And I would make it clear to Meghan Markle that she's made a mistake when it comes to her sister Samantha Markle, someone who I am friends with, someone who is a very good woman. And I would actually want to tell Meghan a little bit about what her sister has gone through in recent years, something I'm not going to get into now. So that would not necessarily be so much as a question, but rather as an opportunity to educate and to try and get them to understand how they got this so wrong. But I'm just being honest, because obviously there's lots I'd like to ask them in a sit-down interview. But if you're just asking if I bumped into them, if I was, walking around the streets and there was Harry, that's what I'd say, because that would probably be the only opportunity I'd get to do it. And Cumbrella 8124 asks, and this is also via YouTube, why has not one journalist or presenter questioned Muggy and Murky, or who could you mean, on the numerous lies they've told for years? Not one. Cumbrella, question of the day. Seriously, I ask this question every single week, and nothing frustrates me more. Because unfortunately, what it shows you, and it buys into a lot about what I talk about on the main Outspoken show as well each day, is that most journalists are in the tank for the deep state, are woke liberals who will never ask appropriate questions and never try and find the truth. And when it comes to Harry and Meghan, I mean, you've asked why. And the why is actually quite simple when you think about it. And it's because Prince Harry and Meghan Markle only hand select journalists who they know are not going to ask. So there's a dirty deal done before the interview even starts. But these people deserve to be called out. And the worst of them all, the worst propagandist of them all, is a man called Chris Shipp, who is the royal editor for Woke ITV, who claims to be a proper journalist, who does propaganda every single time that he is with Prince Harry or Meghan Markle. And the most recent example was when he was in Ukraine, and he asked a question which Harry was clearly unhappy with, about whether his ludicrous speech in Ukraine was going to in some way upset the state visit. And then he just stopped. Then he didn't follow up. But what about the British Bashing Corporation, which claimed to be able to sit down with Harry and ask him whatever they want? And then they didn't ask him a word about the lies that he had directly told in regards to the British royal family. They didn't ask him a word about what was going on at Centre Bali or what was going on in African parks. So look, what you've just got to realise is anyone who sits down with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle is not a journalist. They are a propagandist. Because if there is one consistency in all of the way that Harry and Meghan have been PR'd over the last many years, it is that they will not sit down with a critic because it would go very badly wrong very quickly. Angelica, 6D, asks, I would like to know if Harry is as unhappy as he looks, adore William and Catherine, and are they both ready to become king and queen? Okay, 2 questions there, and I think they're pretty easy, actually, Angelica. I think I can give you a very straight answer on this. Is Harry as unhappy as he looks? Absolutely, without any doubt. I would actually say he's more unhappy than how he looks, but the fact that so often now in public he cannot hide his absolute misery really does harken back to those days when then Prince Charles and Princess Diana's marriage was falling apart, and they would go on these royal tours and the courtiers would be briefing, no, everything's fine, like, they're totally good. And you'd see their utter misery and realize that it was untrue. Perhaps the more interesting question here, though, is are William and Catherine ready to become king and queen? And you might be surprised by my answer here, but I'm, again, going to tell it very straight to you. No, they are not. And they don't want to be king and queen yet. That was not in the plan. And the hope is that King's treatment for his terminal cancer is working out as best as possible because it allows Catherine and William the opportunity to have a little bit more time. Now, that's not to say that they don't hope that they can take the throne at an age before, for example, King Charles took the throne, because William absolutely does believe in his modernization project and knows that if he's doing that as a monarch in his 60s or 70s, it is much more difficult. However, he hoped to see the children through their schooling before he became king and before Catherine became queen. And of course, we're not even close to that yet. You know, George is really just about to get to that key point. They wanted to get them through the teenage years. That would be the ideal situation, because then once they took the throne and once there was much more pressure on that family, all of the children would be close to adults or actually an adult. So they would hope that by the time, for example, that George became the Prince of Wales and took on the duchy, that he would be 18. And it just makes it so much more simple, right, on a whole load of levels as well. Like, it's very difficult if you've got an heir to the throne who is still a minor and all of that. But I think it's a more emotional thing, which is that William, and Catherine too, but William in particular, because he grew up in such a broken home, unlike Catherine, who grew up in such a happy home, prioritizes that family so hard. And he just would like the time. He would like the time. So that was one of the devastating things, I think, for William about the king's diagnosis. But of course, the hope is that the king will stay on the throne for longer. Lorraine, Baxter McPhee on Substack. Thank you so much to our Substack subscribers. Asks me, in light of the serious financial situation of those in Montecito, how far and what type of plan might be being discussed to stop the king's son being declared bankrupt? Okay, Charles's biggest fear has always been about money when it comes to Prince Harry. It has always been that really worried feeling of what on earth do I do if and when my son comes to me with the begging bowl on and needs cash and is saying, Papa, you've got a lot of cash, we have none. And we've got these security bills. That's his fear. Now, do I believe that Charles would ever allow a situation to occur where Harry was actually declared bankrupt? I don't. To be honest, I don't. But I think the king also knows there is huge public pressure on him now. And the idea of bailing out Prince Harry and Meghan Markle after the despicable way that they have behaved towards their own country, towards their own brethren, towards their own father, would not be a good look. So it's a fear of the king. It is a fear of the king. And look, it is a very real fear. You look at Dan Wakeford's recent reporting. He was a massive ally to Harry and Meghan for a long time. His recent reporting is that the inheritance from Diana has nearly run out, and that in reality, they probably can keep the lights on for about 5 more years. But remember, they were thinking that they were going to be able to keep the lights on with the sort of money that Netflix and Spotify were paying them. They were delusional. They thought they could get that money without really working for it, without really having a hit, without acknowledging that the whole business is changing, that the money is draining out of this world, even if you're a Barack and Michelle Obama. So they didn't properly prepare. They overstretched themselves with their overheads. I mean, Tom Sykes was here the other day describing Harry and Meghan as being so broke and saying they're too broke to even renovate their kitchen. And that has made them a laughingstock in Montecito because it's a very old-fashioned kitchen, like something out of Olive Garden, is Tom's. I'd be very happy with the kitchen, but you understand the point that I'm making. Okay, January. Sisson5633 from YouTube says, will Charles ever abdicate in favour of William as his health declines, or stick it out in the end like his mother? Will William have a proper coronation or a stripped down affair? So this is really interesting, January. I believe that Charles will never abdicate. He gave that TV address on what would have been his mother's 100th birthday, and he made it very clear in his vow and commitment to service again that he views this as a role for life. And I think there's a few reasons for that too, because he hasn't had an opportunity for this role for very long. Things may have been different if he had come to the throne when he was 50 years old, for example, and he might have thought that he'd had a decent enough run. William, we know, is far more open about the idea of a European monarchy-style abdication, which would allow a King George to come to the throne perhaps in his 40s. And William thinks that could be a better way to rejuvenate the monarchy and keep it young. Now, look, I know things have calmed down a bit on the Andrew Mountbatten Windsor front, but they haven't gone away. They've just calmed down. And I still think there's a lot to be said, actually, for the prospect of Charles abdicating. But we are not there yet. We are not even close, because he is going to fight that possibility tooth and nail. Charles doesn't want to step down. He doesn't believe in stepping down. If there's one thing he's taken from his mother, it's that the most perfect way to reign is reign where your health and your mortality is not publicly spoken about. But we're in a different era, and we're in an era where Charles announced his cancer diagnosis, so that always slightly changed the balance too. In terms of William and his coronation, yeah, it will be stripped down, but it will still be it's still going to be a big, amazing looking thing. You know, William knows there are certain things he has to do. He might feel a bit awkward about it, but yeah, it's going to be big.
This video is for news reporting, commentary, and educational purposes. The views expressed are based on publicly available information and personal analysis. We strive for accuracy but encourage viewers to verify information through official sources.